Just as I was heading in to do some volunteer work, I got an email from Fox News asking me to go on Ingraham Angel. It's with Laura Ingraham. And so I called them right away. I said, look, I'm heading in to do some service hours. What's going on? And they said, we'd love for you to come on and talk about the pushback that the porn industry is giving and the Free Speech Coalition with these new age verification laws. They're suing Texas. Like, do you have anything you want to say about this? I said, absolutely, sign me up. So stay tuned right here on Uncensored with Brittni De La Mora. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Uncensored with Brittni De La Mora, where I share culturally relevant topics, mostly pertaining to sexuality from a Christian perspective. If you are new here, thanks so much for joining me. Please be sure to press subscribe and like. If you are returning, thank you for being a returning viewer. I'm so grateful that you're here. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. So I'm going to talk to you about this experience. I went on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. I've been on Fox News before. I've done Water's World. I've done The Independents. I've been on the show a few times. I was honestly very nervous this time around because it has been a while since I've done an interview on Fox News. It's been quite some time. So when I got the email rather, I called the producer immediately. I said, send me some information. I started doing research. I'm very passionate about age verification, but I had no idea that that Texas was currently being sued by the Free Speech Coalition and that Pornhub has, hooray, pulled out of allowing anybody that is requiring age verification. They're just removing themselves from the state. I mean, what does that tell you? If Pornhub is saying, we're not going to obey the law, rather, we're just going to pull out because this is our way of boycotting this new legislation. I mean, basically what Pornhub is saying is we want minors to be able to access porn. Age verification seems like a no-brainer to me. We have age verification when it comes to things like gambling, when it comes to being able to get into a strip club, when it comes to drinking, when it comes to smoking. There's age verification all over, and I understand some of the pushback that's coming is, well, it's a violation of my privacy. What happens if this information gets leaked? Yes, I get that, but it's to my understanding that even gambling websites require age verification, and they do so by uploading identification. So this is something that's already being done here in America. It's being done all throughout Europe for porn sites, and I think that this is something that we need to do to protect children, and I will show you the clip of me going on Fox News, Ingraham Angel at the end of this, but I just wanted to be able to go more into detail here because it's a very short clip. I was only actually able to really share my testimony on there because we didn't get into all of this because there was some other news story that came out that ended up taking precedent. So in my research, I found that the average exposure to pornography is at the age of 11. Other sites are reporting that it's much younger than that. I've seen sites reporting that the average age is 10, and even some sites saying 8 years old. So I would say that it's somewhere between the ages of 8 and 11. And we know that the brain is underdeveloped and not fully developed until you're I've heard that your brain doesn't even fully develop till you're about 26, but 21 it's getting there. And this often occurs. They're stumbling into pornography through pop-up ads on gaming sites. They're stumbling onto it through social media. Unfortunately, my husband was watching some YouTube shorts about golfing, and next thing you know, there's some raunchy ad playing for a pornographic website. And I just feel horrible for all of these children. When I fight for age verification, I'm not just fighting for my children, but I'm fighting for my grandchildren, and I am fighting for your children and for your grandchildren, because porn is harmful to anybody's brain, right? But to the underdeveloped brain, these are these formative years where they're learning about sexuality, they're learning about intimacy. And sadly, most of these kids are learning about it from pornography. In fact, 58% of minors reported seeing pornography unintentionally. They were not looking for it, it was looking for them. And that is disheartening. By the time that children reach high school, over 90% have already encountered pornography. We're living in this day and age where it's not if our kids are going to see porn, but it's when. And this is why I believe that it is imperative that we set up age verification on all pornographic websites. It forces pornographic websites to take accountability. You can't just go into a liquor store without showing your ID. You can't just go into a strip club without showing your ID. Yet you can go onto the internet and say, yeah, I'm 18. Or some will say, well, when's your birthday? Let me just make up a birthday. I mean, a 12-year-old is not that dumb. With us making it so, with the porn companies making it so easy for them, anybody can really access these pornographic websites. It is everywhere. And let's not even go to where, I mean, like what porn does to a child's brain and like the significant behavioral and psychological impact that it is having on children is outrageous. It is creating aggressive behavior. I have heard of stories of young girls not wanting to have sex after their very first experience. And the reason for that is because their 14-year-old boyfriend decided to choke them or spit on them or slap them. They were aggressive with them. And I don't blame these 14-year-old teenagers. They don't know any better because porn has been their source of sexual education because the porn companies make it so easy for them to access porn. And yes, I know that there's ways around it. You know, high school kids are going to figure out ways to get alcohol. They're going to figure out a way to smoke a cigarette if they want. They're going to figure out ways, right? But let's not make it easy for them. I do believe that parents have a responsibility to help and to talk to their children about these things, to put up as many blockers as they can. But unfortunately, not every parent does their due diligence. So even if a parent does all their due diligence, there may be a kid that they're friends with that their parents didn't do their due diligence and they're showing the child pornography, which is, I have a friend who her 8-year-old was shown pornography because of her friend's grandfather's iPad. And this is why we need to make it so that it is not so accessible, that once you log out, you have to, re-verify your age again. So God forbid your grandchild doesn't see what you were looking at. We have to protect young minds. Teenagers that watch pornography are more likely to become addicted to pornography. I had another podcast that was called Exposed. Oh my gosh, I forget the name. It was years and years ago. But I talked to one addict in particular, and I've spoken over the years to other porn addicts, and all of them had started watching pornography in their early years, whether it was the magazine they were looking at, the Skinamax shows, they were watching pornography from a very young age, and it transpired and carried with them through their adulthood. So it's like when our brains are fully developed and maybe we stumble on a porn scene, we can kind of go, okay, that's wrong. I'm not going to look at that again. Your frontal lobe is more developed. You have the reasoning abilities where you can say no to things. But a teenager's just not there. Their hormones are raging. There's all these changes that are happening in their lives. And so if they stumble upon it, which 58% of teenagers that have seen it said they just stumbled upon it, well, now their brains are going, I want more. But then they also feel ashamed because inside of them, they know that it's wrong, but the dopamine that got released when they saw it is making them want more. It's creating addictive behaviors. But then the shame that they're battling is now opening the door up for them to battle with depression and anxiety because they're living a secret life and they're living a life of shame. And this is why age verification is so important. The internet needs to be regulated. The porn companies are pushing back saying this goes against my rights with the First Amendment. No, it doesn't. Protecting children is not invading the First Amendment. It creates relationship challenges in teenagers. Like I shared the story about girls that don't want to have sex after their first experience because they were abused. It teaches those that are watching porn, especially teenagers, to objectify people. You no longer see them. It's like a 2-year-old. I have children. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. My 2-year-old will just go and rip toys out of your hand, pull your hair. Sometimes she'll bite. Why? Well, it's not the best. We're teaching her not to do these things, and she's slowly learning as she's getting a little bit older. She's 2.5 now. She's doing it less and less. She's learning. But it's an impulsive behavior because she does not view a human being as a human being. She views human beings just like she does a toy. When you rip blocks apart, it doesn't hurt. So why would it hurt to rip that same block out of another person's hands? The logic and the reasoning just isn't there. And so when a teenager is filling themselves up with pornography, then they start to objectify humans the same way that little children think that it's okay to just rip blocks out. Teenagers think that it's okay to just rip women's hair out of her head, to choke her, to spit on her because of what they're being exposed to. Porn is aggressive, and it was never meant to be sexual education. Age verification does help. This is amazing. I saw a study that said that in 2023, Pornhub reported a 75% drop in traffic from the state of Louisiana after the age verification was implemented there. Hello. I think that's amazing because not only 75% minors were included in that 75%, but there were also adults who probably had to sit and think twice because, see, in a moment of temptation, it's easy to just jump on a porn site and do your thing real quick. But if you have to actually go and put in your identification card, it gives you time to pause and to think about what you're doing. See, one of the greatest ways to overcome temptation is, of course, a relationship with Jesus. But in the moment, a practical thing you can do is pause. Do I really need to go watch that porn scene right now? Is it imperative that I watch it? It might relieve a little bit of stress right now, but how's it going to make me feel afterwards? It's like when you pause, when you're under a lot of stress and you're like, I just want to pound back a bottle of wine. Do I really need to do that? Because this stress is going to pass and I'm going to be left with a hangover in the morning. And so I love the idea of age verification, not just to protect minors, but it does kind of make people have to think twice about what they're doing. They have to think twice before they walk into the store to buy their alcohol. They have to think twice before they walk in to buy their cigarettes. They have to think twice before they walk into the strip club to buy their marijuana. And they're still doing it. And that's their thing. Everything is permissible, but not everything's beneficial. But at least, they're actively thinking about it. They may not be making the best choices, but they've had the opportunity to think about it. With pornography, we've given them no opportunity to think about it because it is so easily accessible. It is everywhere. And so I am so for implementing stricter age verification measures because I believe that it can act as a barrier, reducing the likelihood of children encountering harmful content. And like I said, this just aligns with broader efforts to protect minors from exposure to inappropriate material, just like we've discussed with gambling, cigarettes, and so forth. So that is where I stand. I think that when given the opportunity to vote on these measures, please vote for stricter age verification. When given the opportunity to have conversations with your friends, please influence them. Use the statistics that I've given you to really impact your circle of influence because we need to get on the same team here. We need stricter age verification with pornography. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the clip I was on with Laura Ingraham. So check out this clip and I'll see you right after.
Me now is Brittni De La Mora, former porn star turned pastor, and Peter Gentella, who's the senior legal counsel at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Peter, there's a lot happening in Washington, a lot going on in politics, but I felt it was so important to do this topic tonight because of what's happening, what I see happening across the country to our young people. And I know you are acutely aware of the fact that the ACLU is coming out against this Texas law, supporting groups like Pornhub, saying that where a less restrictive alternative exists, for example, the voluntary installation of filtering software on minors' devices, the government cannot impose age verification on adults in the name of protecting children. Peter, your reaction tonight.
Hi, Laura. It's good to be with you. It's ridiculous. That's my reaction. The American people are fed up with the most dangerous material in the world being available to children 24/7 through our connected technology. And that's why the Texas legislature did what it did when it passed House Bill 1181. And that's been done by 18 other states as well. Age verification just makes sense. A child in the United States right now can't go into a brick and mortar retail store like a Walmart and purchase sexually graphic material, purchase pornography. They can't go into a bookstore and purchase pornography. But they can go uninhibited online to some of the largest websites in the world who are making billions and billions of dollars off the most dangerous and violent material that's imaginable. So it's very reasonable for the Texas state legislature, other state legislatures, and for Congress to require websites that host pornography to have reasonable age verification measures in place, commercially reasonable ones, so that there's at least another barrier.
Yeah, well, the ACLU in a statement said, well, the law is unconstitutional because it makes adults think twice about exercising their First Amendment rights. This is a hilarious argument. I wish I were arguing the case at the court. But Brittni, in the 90s, the big thing was Girls Gone Wild. That was in the 90s. Watch.
It blew my mind what Joe Francis was able to convince these young girls to do.
If I took no for an answer, I wouldn't be where I was.
I never thought that that would come back and haunt me for 20 years.
Brittni, and now it's 2024, and look at how far we've sunk from that low point. Brittni, what do parents need to know tonight about how easy it is to get porn in the hands of young people on the internet?
You know, anybody can go on any pornographic website. It'll say, are you 18? Click enter. If so, you just click enter and boom, you're on porn. But beyond that, with the social media hashtags and ads and even ads that appear now on YouTube, I mean, porn is easily accessible, and I stand for age verification because we need to protect young children.
Brittni, tell us about your own story. You became really a victim of the porn industry. You ended up becoming a zealous advocate for freeing yourself from porn. Really quickly, how did you escape from this gutter of pornography?
You know, it wasn't easy. I was in the porn industry from 18 to 25 years old, and I really felt trapped. It was my livelihood. It was all I knew. For the last 3.5 years that I was in the business, I was being trafficked as well. And so it was not easy, but I had just supernatural experiences with God, and there was a day that he told me, you need to quit this industry, and I would bless your life like no man ever could, because the life that I have for you will overflow with love and peace and joy. And so I really just took a step of faith, not knowing where I would go next, and I quit the industry behind, and I had called my mother to help me to get away from the pimp. And I've been out for over a decade. I have 2 beautiful children. I'm married to a wonderful man, and now we help people who are struggling with addictions to pornography. We also help industry workers who want to exit the industry. We help them get out as well, and we also try our best to protect children from stumbling onto things like pornography.
It's so important as we hear everybody talking about the needs to protect the rights of sex workers. I mean, that's just normalizing, sex work, and you hear a lot of politicians on the left do that. That's not really helping them. That's just keeping them in a business that degrades them. But I want to read a portion of the Texas brief from the case. In 2006, just over 25% of children aged 13 or younger were exposed to online pornography. But by 2022, that number more than doubled to 54%. Smartphones were the way most people ended up accessing pornography. And in Australia, a new study, 1 in 3 teens learn about sex from violent pornography. Peter, very quickly, how important is age verification to try to stop this madness and all the damage that's being done to young men and women?
Absolutely, Laura. Yeah, age verification is the solution. It's being used widely in Europe. And the only thing that's really holding it up now in the United States is lawsuits like this one brought by the ACLU and by the large pornography websites that are trying to maintain the highest profit margins they possibly can.
Well, again, on the mental health, on the physical well-being, emotional well-being, and spiritual well-being of our children, which is destroyed by the porn industry. They do not care. Brittni and Peter, you're invaluable. Thank you so much.
It was such an honor to go on Ingraham Angel. I actually met with her like probably 11 or 12 years ago, right after I got out of the adult industry, and I shared my full-length testimony on her podcast that she had at the time. She's just doing incredible things. I commend her for standing for righteousness and for using her voice to be light in a dark place. I would love to know your thoughts on this Free Speech Coalition and Pornhub pushback. Why do you think, personally, that they are refusing to abide by the age verification laws? They're just pulling themselves out of the stage, in which I say good riddance, bye-bye. Let's have every state implement that so Pornhub can be erased from the internet. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that they are intentionally trying to create a space for minors to still be able to watch pornography? What are your thoughts on this? I would love to hear from you in the comment section, so I will meet you there. Thank you again for tuning in to Uncensored with Brittni De La Mora, where I share culturally relevant topics, mostly pertaining to sexuality from a Christian perspective. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you won't miss any videos that I have coming your way, and I will see you in my next video. God bless you.